2212, 2212. Two two one two. Saturday, 24th October 2020. In this 606 match reaction show, I'm joined by Nick, Matt, Tim to review Blackpool 1, MK Dons 0. Tim's walking about making a load of noise in the intro. Unbelievable. I'm John Aspinall, this is the Seasiders Podcast.
I'm on the show and I can't hear anything.
Show. Jeez Christ!
Oh, he's already changed the world. A small town from the north of England with a great tradition. Change the
world. Unbelievable. Did you hear that, Tim?
We just had a few technical issues at my end, so I missed the thing that was said.
If this was a family show, which it isn't, the room would have turned blue.
What was that at me just moving off?
Shouting out and moving off screen as I'm in the middle of the intro.
Well, I couldn't hear anything, so I didn't even know whether I could.
We could hear you.
Yeah, apologies. It was.
Right, everybody, welcome to the stream. Anyway, welcome to everyone on Facebook. Welcome on YouTube. Welcome on Periscope. Welcome on the audio podcast, and welcome to the two professionals, the Smiths. Nick, hi Nick.
Good evening, John. Good evening, everyone.
Hi Matt. What? Oh, I didn't hear Matt then.
Oh, there's another novice.
It's me and you, John.
Right, Tim, I'll let you off, I suppose. While Matt sorts himself out.
There is a backstory to my travails over this. In that I managed to smash my computer screen, my MacBook Pro, thick end of $2,000 screen on Monday when I tripped on the stairs going up. So I'm actually on Sam's computer, so he set it all up. And then I suddenly realised as we were just about to start that I couldn't hear a thing. So it was a loose connection as it happened. But hence my Sam.
You say you say the thick end of $2,000, but I don't think you're telling the listeners the full story with how you broke it, really, are you? Thick being the operative word, as I remember you telling me you were walking down the stairs with a cup of tea in one hand.
Up the stairs.
Sorry,
it was about midnight. It was about midnight.
In the other hand, whilst looking at AVFTT.
I was actually, I'm rather embarrassed to say, I was actually reading the Times because it goes, the new paper comes out at midnight. So I was looking at the headlines because I'm quite into all the coronavirus stuff at the moment. And I never walk upstairs with it open. I had it open, I had a brew in my other hand, and I had these sliders on, and they tripped on the stairs, and I went flying forward because I had the brew. I was like trying to keep it away from the laptop. It was a bit innocuous, really, but anyway, I managed to smash only in the corner, but smash the screen.
Nick,
I was gutted.
Nick, do you think we should do a crowdfunder to get Tim a new laptop?
No, I don't think afford it. Yeah, we could do. Yeah,
it's repairable. Actually, it's gone away to. I've sent it away, but it's. Was it UPS? They've been a right pain, but the actual people have fixed it in a day. So, but it's not cheap.
Am I sorted now?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we
can.
We can. Yeah.
Right, sound. Okay, just a dodgy USB or HDMI, whichever one it is.
Okay, we're all here now anyway. We're all here. We're here for a reason, really, aren't we? Not to discuss Tim's accidents with a MacBook Pro, but to discuss Blackpool winning a game of football.
Woo!
Blackpool 1, MK Dons 0. As you can see on the ticker there, Blackpool 1, MK Dons 0. Nick, it wasn't pretty, but we got over the line in the end.
We did, yeah. Certainly wasn't pretty. But, you know, sometimes when you're down the bottom and you're on a losing streak, you take what you can get, and sometimes it's not always a convincing 3-0. It's a scrappy 1-0, and, you know, we'd all take it, wouldn't we? It wasn't certainly won't be buying the DVD at the end of the season, that's for sure. But it's 3 points, and it's what we needed at the moment, so you take it.
Yeah. Tim, your initial thoughts after just watching that briefly?
It was a hard watch. It lacked any quality for me, I'm just glad we got 3 points. There's a couple of positives, which we'll no doubt come to during the course of the show, but it was rather uninspiring stuff for the most part. And I think obviously we had the chat going at the side, and it was. I think the goal was the first shot on target, which has been a perennial problem for us, isn't it, for this season, actually getting into goal-scoring opportunities. So there's a lot. We're still a work in progress, without a shadow of a doubt. So, but 3 points at 5 o'clock on a Saturday is become a rather rare occurrence, isn't it? So
it tastes a bit better, doesn't it?
Yeah, let's make the most of it.
Matt, initial thoughts?
Just a sense of relief, really, I suppose. The game sort of matched today's dreary weather. So it was a bit of a snooze fest in the first half. Nothing happened, and just grateful that we got something in the end, really. And I think it was poor 1, very poor 0.
Right, let's have a quick look at the lineup. Just to get us going. Let's get this up. Get that off the screen. So, Blackpool lined up as follows. A couple of changes. Maxwell in goal, Turton right back, Ekpateta and Ballard in. Ballard in for a start in place of the missing James Husband. Mitchell at left back. In the midfield, Williams, Woodburn and Ward up front. Kai, Yates and Hamilton. So, come over to you first, Nick. What were your initial thoughts after seeing that?
Obviously wasn't surprised to see Ballard in. After his performance the other night, I knew he'd start, but probably surprised to see Robson dropped. I think he's been probably one of our more consistent players this season. So that was probably the main surprise for me that Robson wasn't involved.
Tim?
Yeah, I think probably endorse a little bit what Nick says. I mean, if you look at the team, there is a lot of ball players in there and not a lot of ball winners. So my initial thoughts were I sort of wondered whether he'd put Ward back in at Robson's expense, almost as like an apology for having to hook him in the first minute on Tuesday, because Ward didn't look very happy going off, did he?
No.
But I thought the team looked like it was too lightweight in relation to. It's all right having ball players on, and if you look through that team, there's 5 very, very attacking players and 2 attacking fullbacks. So it looked a bit unbalanced. And I was very surprised about Robson, unless he had a knock of some, or he felt he was jaded and
he was
needed
on the bench, wasn't he? So
you wouldn't think he's unfit to play, would you? So. But now Williams, we've talked about Williams having quite a good game on Tuesday night, didn't we? And proving that he wasn't the League 2 donkey that you keep calling him.
Leggy donkey, I called him.
Leggy donkey. So but I think that's probably. Anyway. And we also saw, although we obviously only saw that when the game started, that Critchley had been listening to at least part of what Phil had said. About inverted wingers and swapped Hamilton and Kai onto the opposite wings. But to be fair to Phil, he did say it if you've got Medine playing centre forward. So and I don't think it quite worked, but that's possibly half part of the reason why. So, but yeah, I looked at that and I thought, yeah, very, very, very attacking. But yeah, I think we would have been more balanced if Robson had played instead of Ward.
Matt, over to you. What were your thoughts when you saw the starting lineup?
Yeah, equally surprised that Robson wasn't playing initially, but then I thought, well, maybe it's a case of, he's played, I think, pretty much every minute on the park since we started the season, so it could just have been a rotational thing, and equally. We were down to 10 men, obviously, after a minute or whatever it was on Tuesday night. So he's put some yards in. And Ward didn't get that opportunity. So definitely fresh legs in the middle there. But I think if it were you playing your strongest 11, I think Robson thus far would probably be in it. So yeah, it was a little bit of a surprise to see him out. Equally, I thought it was a bit of a surprise to see Kai getting straight in as well, having obviously not played any part of the season, I think, so far, really.
Do you think, with regards to Robson and Williams, it's a case of one or the other?
I think it. Well, I mean, Williams, I think he's going to be playing that holding role, isn't he? There's no doubt about that. It's whether he plays another one alongside him and then goes for a 4-2-3-1 type of thing, or whether he wants to stick to this 4-3-3 formation. It'd be interesting to see when the lad Dougal gets fit, what he does then, because obviously it sounds like he's a very similar sort of player to Williams. So it would be interesting to see at that particular point that might change his mind, perhaps. But from Tuesday night starting 11 to today's starting 11, it wasn't vastly different. Obviously, Nick's mentioned about Ballard coming in straight away. That was a no-brainer. But yeah, equally, I thought it was just a little bit interesting that he chose Robson and equally Kai ahead of one or two others, perhaps.
I think more than I think about it, I think it more is a rotational thing, because if you think about it, we've got Saturday, Saturday, haven't we? And Critch is probably thinking, we need to have fresh legs on the pitch. So, and I suspect I'll be quite surprised if Robson's not back in on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I agree.
As Phil said there, NC wasn't quite listening properly, as I said with Medine. But I think Medine would have done better today, because he looked handy for his cameo performance, and Yates was misfiring yet again, and that chance that he had, and he opted to pass it, shows to me a man completely lacking in confidence.
Yeah, he's still not got any supply line, has he?
No, there was a couple of chances in the first half where we got into decent positions. I think it was Hamilton or somebody down the right. Not Hamilton, but
it's Kai, wasn't it? I think
Kai, of course, yeah. And there's a ball into the box, and it's screaming for him to run across to the front post, and he's almost just waiting on the centre on the penalty spot for it to land at his feet. And there was a couple of chances in the game where I thought we got into decent positions, but there's that ball in the box quite wasn't there. And with Yates, I think he then gets frustrated and he's running around and it's bouncing off his shin, and it's just, I think when like John said, when you're lacking confidence, if he'd have been scoring this season, that chance he gets in the second half, it'd be head down, smashed it across the keeper into the bottom corner, but he didn't even want to take it on, did he? I thought he'd have got pulled a bit sooner than he did, to be honest. I thought he'd have maybe given Medine, 60 minutes onwards, but hey ho.
I think the goal maybe changed it, didn't it? In that, I know Sarkic was coming on and he held him back a little bit longer, didn't he, when that came? But just going back to the point you made, Nick, I think every single person on our feed was saying the same thing. Sam actually said it as it happened, and then pinged some. I've forgotten it was now. Somebody else said it on the feed, and again, it's a lack of confidence. I think for me, he's not anticipating. He's waiting for the ball to come to him, and I'm sure he's a better player than that. And I'm sure it is something that when he gets his first goal, it'll give him that confidence. He'll start trying to do a few different things, because he just looks so predictable at the moment. We know what a defender knows, where he's going to be and what he's going to do, and you can't do that. It's all about those fine margins, isn't it? As a centre forward, about just nicking ahead of your defender, doing something that they're not expecting. And it was he was almost just waiting for it, and then a hands on hips when it doesn't reach him. But that's not the way you play as a centre forward, and I'm sure it's not the way that he would normally play.
Okay, so let's just nip back to the first half for a minute. I know nothing really of note happened. We put a couple of balls into the box, as Nick's alluded to. No one's got on the end of them, but the main talking point really was CJ Hamilton's first half performance. Nick's. It was Woeful would be an understatement. And what was going on there?
I don't know. I mean, we've relied on him, obviously, pretty much every game this season, haven't we? On the right, and he's mixed it up a bit and switched him, and he just looked. I mean, he kept saying on the commentary that he was feeling his calf in the first half. So I did wonder whether he had an injury, but obviously, he's carried on in the game, so perhaps not. Certainly didn't look happy to be out there. Yeah, and it just wasn't happening for him. So no surprise to see it change in the second half. He just looked a bit disinterested, didn't he? Didn't look happy at all.
Do you think it's a case of he's thrown the toys out the pram because he's been played on the left, or he's just that much of a fish out of water?
Possibly a bit of both. We have talked about doing something different and mixing it up a bit, but he wasn't effective at all down that side, and he just didn't look happy, and it needed to change in the second half, and thankfully it did.
Tim, what was your opinion on Hamilton?
He looked like he was sulking. He looked like he was a petulant player being told to do something he didn't want to do, and disappointing really, because it is about switching things about and mixing things up. The opposition would be expecting him to play on the right. We've seen various games where he's been marked out very effectively by them doubling up on him. So you'd think that he would see just switching wings where Milton Keynes wouldn't have been expecting him to be would be an opportunity. And he looked like he had his head down. I think I think this holding the leg bit is just nonsense, because next minute he's running at full pelt. So we all know from the dim and distant past, or in mine and John's case, the current footballing prowess, that if you've got a strain, you aren't going to go full pelt, are you? You just aren't. It just won't be happening. So I think it was more body language than anything else. That
I think Tim's referencing my performance on Monday night, a hat trick, opening the scoring, even with a strain, even with a hamstring strain.
True pro, you see, isn't it? And we've seen pictures of you today in full football regalia with flat cap and boots.
That was from our
I think you should put that picture up on here. To
right, you're right. You lot keep talking. I'll dig it out.
It's a sight to be seen.
It was from our trip to the Chorley foot golf about, what was it, Nick, 5 years ago?
6 years ago today. Yeah. And it was very
for those who don't know,
chaos.
basically you're playing a pitch and putt golf, and you start from the tees, and rather than obviously bash a ball around, you chip and finish on the end, and it was a good day. Can't remember who won now, but
we all know who won, Timothy.
The old pretender.
Yes.
What did you think, Matt? That's while John's getting that. What do you think, Matt, about CJ? And
Hamilton was poor. I mean, attitude-wise or not, I just thought his just ability level was really low. Just the simple stuff, the simple layoffs, the movement wasn't there. Everything about him was, like you say, he's like a sulky little child, not playing on the right position for him. Just not what you need at this particular point in time. Obviously, you want metaphorically, socks pulled up and get on with it, sort of thing. And if the manager says you're playing out on the left instead of on the right hand side, you can do it, don't you? So. It was really disappointing. Whether that was the reason for his, I just call it was abject. His first 45 minutes, by far the worst 45 minutes I've seen from anybody in a tangerine shirt, and really disappointing from him when, quite frankly, he's been one of the very few sort of bright sparks that we've had in this, 7 or 8 games of the league season so far. So, it was really disappointing. Like I say, unfortunately, he wasn't alone in the first half, but he sort of stood out as the worst of the collective in that first half, really. Which, like I say, is really disappointing, because I'm sure he's better than that as a person as well as a footballer. And I hope if he does have the unfortunate, when they do watch it back and he's have to watch the first 45 minutes, hopefully he'll be suitably embarrassed by it. And if he's not told directly by Critchley or any of the coaching staff, he'll make sure that doesn't happen again, because he won't be starting again if he carries on like that. There he is. We'd have rather have that
There
on the
it
pitch
is.
in the first half.
That's what you need.
Charlie
Like
Charles.
No nonsense defending. Have it.
It was.
Look at that technique.
It was a look,
Head
look
down.
there, wasn't it? You've got tracky bottoms with walking shoes with what looks like some form of tweed jacket and the flat cap. I mean,
I was off. I'd just been on. I was going to a grouse shoot with a certain ex-chairman after that, so thought I'd tie myself up. Oh, that was funny.
I'd have fancied our chances against a few of our first 11 today at that.
As we said on the chat, didn't we? We should sort out another foot golf tournament. So, if anyone's listening and wants to join our little club, do feel free. Yeah.
Surely
was
it's socially distanced, surely, isn't it?
yeah.
Can you do it in the current laws? Is it allowed?
Yeah.
We'll find out,
Actually, I'm not sure. You're allowed to do like organised sport, which is why we can play walking football, but I don't think you can do certain other things. So I really don't know. But there's quite a few people with little injuries at the end of that, wasn't there? That
We all did.
we were all struggling, and that was 6 years ago.
I think I got injured after doing that.
I think
You
I'm
got
about
injured
3
doing it.
stone lighter since, so that's all right.
Quite ironic that match, because we were probably 3 stone heavier.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Right. Anything else to say about the first half? Should we move on?
Please move on.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot, was there?
I think the only note I can put down of the first and second half was really Yates misfiring. We've covered that, haven't we?
Yeah.
I think it's a time for him to a bit of a spell on the bench, really. Second half, did we really get going? No, I would wager. Nick, anything of note before the goal?
Not really, no, not initially. It was, I think it had 0-0 written all over it. And then, I kept thinking, I think Tim mentioned it on the chat, Jerome was on the bench for them. And I kept thinking, and I can see what's going to happen here. He's going to come on and have a chance and put it away.
Was this
when we had
Cameron Jerome who used to play for Birmingham City? Is it this? Is this
Yeah.
the same Jerome? I'm thinking
Yeah,
of?
I think
A lot of
think
people
he
were
was-
pointing him out before the start of the game. I thought it was pretty crap then, to be honest, even his pomp. So I wasn't really worried.
I think at League One level he may still have something about him, but it didn't happen, thankfully. Yeah, there was the chance for Yates, wasn't there, where he was, well, I wouldn't say through, but he was in a decent position and just hesitated, and a couple of others where we put a decent ball into the box, but there was nobody on the end of it until the goal, where thankfully somebody was for the first time in the afternoon, and it was a very good finish from Kai, to be fair. Decent ball in and a good finish. I don't know whether I'd say we deserved it. They hadn't done a lot either. I don't think either team had, but
I was just as that was about to go in, I did say we don't look like scoring, and I was going to put on our WhatsApp group. I think there's going to be one goal that decides this, and Tim, it proved to be the case, and decent work from Hamilton down the right hand side, where he should have been really in the first half, and
I think it was our first shot on target, if I remember rightly, or well, certainly our first proper shot on target. It was it was finished with aplomb, wasn't it? It was good cross in, hit first time as I recall, and gave the keeper no chance. So it was good to see. It's good to see Kai back anyway, because whilst he can be a bit hit and miss sometimes, he's the one probably in the last 2 years who's always been capable of doing something out of the ordinary. And, he's obviously coming back from a bit of a layoff. So, it's if first came back, you're not expecting him to be firing on all cylinders. But I think it'll do his confidence and the team's confidence a lot of good that, he's scored and that we're going home tonight with with 3 points. So every credit to him. It wasn't his most scintillating of performances, but he showed a bit of class and a bit of skill to make sure that that ball hit the back of the net. So pleasing for him and pleasing for us.
Matt, thoughts on the goal?
Yeah, I think it'll probably give Neil Critchley a lot of pleasure, that one, because it's probably what he wants to see from his front three. The ball coming in from one of the wider ones, and then feeding either your centre forward of the three or the other guy, and it sort of ticked all those boxes really. And as Amac had pointed out, it was for once it was one of those crosses that's been pulled back, where we actually had somebody on the end of it. And it's not that we have 100 crosses coming in a game or anything like that, but obviously over the course of the season so far, it's been fairly typical of what Hamilton in particular has been providing, and nobody has been on the end of it. So it was, I think we were just about the better of the two sides at that particular point of the second half. We were definitely a bit more proactive. They were, crikey, they were really poor in the final third. I thought we were bad, but they were absolutely impotent. So yeah, I think we deserved the lead, and I was just hoping that it might have actually brought them out a bit so we could capitalise further, but the game just sort of carried on in the vein that it had done for the previous 60-odd minutes. So, yeah, a good flash out of the pan in terms of, out of the rest of the game. It was a bit of a good spark, but that was unfortunately a rare occurrence, but much needed, obviously.
So obviously we've gone ahead on 66 minutes, and Coach Critchley has made a few changes to shore the game up or to go for the jugular. Nick, I don't think we went for the jugular particularly. He's brought on Sarcic on 69 minutes, Kemp on 80 minutes, and Medina on 87. So this was an opportunity where we could have gone for the win, killed him off, but it didn't really work out like that, did it?
Not quite. No, I thought Sarkic didn't do a great deal. I thought Kemp looked lively when he came on, and I'd like to see a bit more of him. We talked about this previously. He's sat on the bench and he's brought other people on ahead of him. I think he's got something about him, and he ran around and he put himself about. He had that chance, didn't he? Where I can't remember who
he started. He started the move out to the left, and it was ball played back to him.
And just couldn't quite finish it off. So I think he was a positive. And I suppose you could say the fact that we've managed to see the game out, we've managed a bit of game management, I suppose. We did seem to start that a little bit early. I thought I think we had a corner with about 6 minutes to go, and we're just knocking it and trying to hold it in the corner. And with injury time,
were you disappointed with that? I was
a bit, yeah.
Slightly annoyed.
You can say with hindsight, oh, it's a clever thing to do, but I just kept thinking, if they get one in the 92nd minute and we're wasting time with 10 minutes to go, you'd be absolutely furious. I thought at that point you want to try and still get a second. It's fine to do it on 90 minutes or 92 minutes or something, but there was, that's a great opportunity. I know we've been terrible with corners, but nevertheless. It's an opportunity to get the ball into the box with about 10 minutes to go, and we're trying to see the game out. So yeah, I thought that was a little bit disappointing that we didn't, because it just kind of, the game petered out of it, didn't it? And they had that, that free kick towards the end. But yeah, I think Kemp's a positive for me. I think he's got a bit about him.
Tim, Kemp and game management at the end. What are your thoughts?
Yeah,
on that?
I've championed Kemp a little bit because I've watched Labala start and come on with little to justify it from my perspective, and I've always felt, going back to the second half of the Liverpool game when we took a bit of a trouncing, that he was one of the players who looked like he had something about him, and I don't think he's ever really been given a proper opportunity. And I think even today, it's 10 minutes, isn't it? So it's limited as regards what he's actually had. But he, as David said on the messages there, he was closing people down. He got a few good tackles in. He had a decent 1-2, didn't he? That ended up with him having a shot on testing the keeper. And I think he was a positive. I think he's one of the positives from today, and hopefully we're going to see more of him. I must admit, I was shouting at the screen when we were prattling around with this game management. 10 minutes to go, it was too early, and it could have cost us. There was opportunities there, I think, to cement the win, but I think it's probably a reflection of the fact where we are in the league, where we are desperate for those 3 points, that we're trying to see the game out. But the risk with those things always is that they come back to haunt you, and it could have done, and it didn't. That's great, but it's very disappointing to see us messing around 10 minutes from the end of the game like that.
Mark, what were your thoughts on that? Kemp and the playing around, game management, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, I think in regards to Kemp, I think he's doing all he can do. If he's only going to get 10 or 15 minutes, he's got to try and look lively, look busy, be very enthusiastic, and do what he can to influence the game. And I think he did as much as you could expect and want from a substitute to do in that, in those circumstances. So I think he's done himself no harm. Hopefully it will give Critchley sort of food for thought when he picks his side for Tuesday. And if he is going to rotate things a little bit, he can consider Kemp in a starting spot perhaps, and maybe given the performance today, albeit with an assist, he can potentially look to maybe leave Hamilton out and keep Kai and Kemp as the two of the front three perhaps. But that's for Tuesday night to worry about. In terms of the game management, yeah, I mean Milton Keynes were poor. That you could almost, I don't know, it was almost just a case of not switching off, wasn't it? Really. So long as I felt comfortable just because we had Ballard and Marvin and at the back, that they were never really going to get through those two. I thought both of those two again had pretty solid games. They didn't have an awful lot of defending to do, but I thought when Jerome came on, I'm going off sort of piece a little bit, but when Jerome came on, he obviously targeted Ekpiteta as sort of the weaker of the two centre halves, and he put himself on him. But I thought he did really well. He obviously gave a foul away with a few minutes to go, but that aside, I thought he played well against a guy who's 13, 14 years his senior, and had obviously been there and done it. But yeah, it was. I mean, that corner annoyed me as well. I'll be honest. It was very negative, but in hindsight, like we said, a 1-0, and that's good enough in the circumstances.
I'm glad it wasn't just me, because I was like raging a bit at that. I was like,
you hate to see it from other teams, don't you?
You do. Like Nick said, a couple of minutes from the end, 3 minutes from the end, but not 10 minutes to go.
Well, we had the corner and the free kick, didn't we? We had a free kick down in that corner as well. And to be fair, actually, I thought CJ held the ball up well in that corner, because normally when we ever do it, we give the ball away straight away and it goes right down the other end anyway, which is even more infuriating. But he did actually hold it there for a reasonable period of time, but I hate it.
We knew it was a reason to get him picked today. That was it.
yes, that's his most positive contribution.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, let's move on to the man of the match, if we must. Just listeners, if you are still listening to this, it's not as funny as last week, but get your comments in. Get your comments in, and we'll address those towards the end. So, any comment, whatever you have about the game, just leave them in the chat if you're on YouTube or Facebook, and we'll come to those at the end. But let's now move on to the man of the match for this game. Nick, over to you.
I'd not
probably say
it's a running theme. This
it is, isn't it? I'm going to say Ballard, because although he didn't particularly have anybody up against him who was a real handful, I just thought everything he did do, he did well. He doesn't put a foot wrong. His positional play, he's bringing it out from the back. He wins his headers, and I think he's probably our star signing out of all of them. For me, I think he's a heck of a player. It's early days, but I just think he stands out. And like Matt was saying, Marvin's done well generally today, and I think he'll improve having Ballard alongside him, because he can see what a really good centre half is about. So I'd say Ballard for me.
Timothy.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Nick. So he's my man of the match for the second game in the row. He actually reminds me a little bit of and you've got to be somebody of a certain vintage to remember this, but a young Tony Adams, when Tony Adams was a really young player and starting out, a bit bigger Tony, but he reminded me a little bit of him, the way I could see him directing people at the back and using with hand gesticulations a lot. And he was basically, making sure that people were in the right position to receive the ball. And we haven't seen much of that at all this season, have we? And it was good to see. And he looked like somebody who was organising the players around him. And that's where, for me, it's not, when I've spoken before about captain material, it's not about age. It's about having that awareness and having that willingness to actually step up and start organising the other people around you. And he showed signs of that for me today, which was very encouraging, because that's what we need at the back. We've got too many young people who are just trying to focus on their own game and not how they're playing as a back four. So very, very pleased with that. And again, as Nick said, I don't think he really put a foot wrong. It was a pretty insipid performance all in all, we've got to say. And I don't think there's anybody further forward who really stood out. I think it was an average, well, not even average, a below average performance against a very below average opposition. So I think we've got to put it in context. I think he probably did the most for me to justify man of the match. So I'll pick Ballard.
Ray Gregson also says Ballard. Too many who from Hope Balls. Ballard for me. I like Ray's avatar there. Looks a bit like me.
Like you.
Not a flat cap though.
Look at that. Me and Morty.
You're in good company, Joe.
Learning from the best. Hey, look at that. Maybe I'm a love child of his, or a love
doppelganger, aren't you?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Matt, who's your nomination for man of the match?
I think it has to be Ballard, doesn't it? It's not like there's any competition, unfortunately, which is it's a bit of a shame, really, because obviously we've got the opportunity now to get another win on Tuesday. Is it Burton on Tuesday, or is it Wimbledon? Forgive me.
Wimbledon.
Wimbledon, then it's Burton, isn't it? 2 more winnable games. My concern, I guess, is that I don't know how we're going to... It might give them a little bit of confidence, but I don't know how much it's going to, bring them forward to get 2 more wins, or a win and a draw, perhaps. But hopefully they can learn a little bit more from today, have a little bit more confidence, have presumably a good 24 hours rest or whatever, and then back into training on Monday, if not tomorrow afternoon. And carry on a little bit of momentum that we've sort of got, really. We have sort of played a little bit better since, and including the Crew game, but it's really marginal sort of gains at the moment, isn't it, rather than anything else. But I think my only concern is about Ballard is exactly what Andrew's just mentioned there. He's only hours until January, and I just can't see him. If somebody else is watching him in a higher level, or even a bigger club at our level, or a higher in the league club in League One, they're going to get interested in him, aren't they? Unless he loves it by the seaside, that old cliche. Then I fear it's going to be a bit of a fleeting sort of relationship with him, really.
Phil's gone for Ward. Good today, Williams and Ballard. Quite a lot of people on the listeners' comments are agreeing that Ballard was the man of the match. A couple of people for Ward. I thought Ward was decent. I thought he was tidy today. He had a reasonably good performance. Did the simple things quite well, and I think his delivery was slightly better. But I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go for Ballard as well. Rock solid at the back, and exactly what we've been asking for. Just need to get rid of Potato next. And
do you not think Ward was a bit? I thought he was anonymous in the first 30 minutes, and then he played well. Perhaps
He wasn't alone though, Tim, was he? In the first.
No, but I didn't even. I think I'd said on the chat that the first time I heard his name mentioned was about 30 minutes in, and but to be fair, from then I did think he actually played okay. He had a couple of he had a couple of plays that he was involved in where I thought he did quite well. So, but yeah, I think Bison's has mentioned on the messages on here about the standard of our midfield. That we can get it up. Yeah, you've got it up now, John. And quality-wise, I do think we're lacking. I don't see. Again, we've spoken about this before, haven't we? With Virtue, and I think we're missing him. We don't seem to have. We don't seem to have a midfield that drives the ball forward, that takes the game to the opposition. It just seems very, very pedestrian to me, and it is a concern because I think this is all part of the reason why we're not creating the chances. We're lucky today that we played a poor team, and we play another team and they score 2. We've lost again because we've literally, bar Kemp's chance at the end, we've had one shot on target. And this is a pattern, and it's a pattern we've got to break, and we've got to break it quickly. I've forgotten. I was reading something the other week, and the manager was talking about. I can't even remember now whether it was a Blackpool manager, but they're talking about trying to get between 10 and 15 shots off in a game on the basis that you're only going to convert, 10-15% of those. And this is our problem, isn't it? We're not creating anything like the number of chances that we need to make a game comfortable. So we're playing a very, very poor side at the bottom of the league. And, if we'd had 6 or 7 good chances, then we might have converted 2 or 3. But how many have we had today?
So let's get these up there, Tim. I'll try and make that a bit bigger if I can.
So
two shots.
2 versus 1, is that?
Yeah, so it's the goal and it's Kemp's shot. They're the 2 chances. I thought I didn't remember any others, so I didn't. I didn't think there was anything that I'd missed. But so we've
7,
had 2.
apparently.
Yeah,
It's those 2. Well, it's those 2 that we've mentioned. It was the goal and the Kemp shot. Those are the 2 on target.
Yeah, and then we've had another 4. We had another 4. I don't remember what those other 4 were, but overall, a very poor. MK Don's side have had the
lion's share of the possession.
33 lion's share of the possession and 33% more shots than us. So it's a look that worries me, and it's not just today. It's every single game, and this is this is why we're struggling. I don't think the forwards are getting the service, and that the midfield has to play. The midfield has to chip in as well, don't they? With goals, and the sooner we get Virtue in that side, for me, the better.
I think that's it. You've got Virtue to come in, you've got Dougal presumably to get involved there as well, and that's 2/3 of the presumably the 3 that could change things quite. I wouldn't say dramatically, but it could make an improvement on what we have. But you're crying out for somebody to just carry the ball forward, aren't you? And commit the centre halves of the opposition so that it can open up the chance of putting a ball through to Yates or Medina or whoever it happens to be. Instead, it's just sideways all the time. There's no real sort of
back.
Central penetration. You don't often hear that much. There's none of that, is there?
It's the early show, this, Matt.
So for the 9 p.m. watershed show.
But you know where I'm coming from, obviously. But whether Virtue can bring us that, I
think he can.
That's obviously, I'm guessing, at least 3 games off, isn't it? By the time he gets fit, by all accounts. So
he's signed a contract extension, hasn't he? But does anyone know what his actual injury is?
No, there's no information, is there, at all? No. About when he's going to be back. There was talk, wasn't there, that both he and Kai were back in training, and obviously Kai's straight into the team, but obviously Virtue's not probably viewed as being fit to play yet. But it would be nice to have a little bit more information about things like that, because I've not seen anything to say what it is. So you can sort of temper your expectations, can't you, if you know that it's a hamstring injury and he's going to be out for 6 weeks or something.
Twisted
he
socket
said,
injury.
I think he said yesterday he's 3 weeks away from being back in training. Didn't say what it was, but just said it was a niggly one that's taking longer than expected.
So
And he
3
should
weeks
be-
to train.
I think he said 3 weeks to train. Yeah, it will be because he's not kicked a
It's
ball yet,
5
has he?
weeks,
So
isn't it?
So you're looking 5 or 6 weeks then, aren't you, to get match fit? Really?
probably.
Right, so
yeah.
we've got problems then, haven't we? We've got problems. Someone on the chat, Bricks Tuhoye, sorry, I can't pronounce it. Garbutt would definitely offer something more than Mitchell going forward. That's a decent point. Obviously, we've not seen much of him, but he does have a reputation for that. But I think he pulled his hamstring, and they're notoriously 6-week injuries as well, aren't they? So,
Unless you're a walking footballer.
right.
I mean, looking ahead to Tuesday. Looking ahead to Tuesday, that could be an option. That is husband back? Is he just suspended for one game?
2 games, I think it is.
2 games, is it? Right. Okay. Well, that's irrelevant then. I was just wondering whether Mitchell could play in front of him, but it's not going to happen, obviously. So,
Right. Where do we go from here then? That performance today, although we've won, was not great, was it? Let's be honest about it.
No, but like I said at the start of the show, I think we'd probably all take a scrappy 1-0 win against. We've played better and lost this season, haven't we? So it's something to build on at least. We'll see how we go on Tuesday night. Where are they in the league? They're down there, aren't they? I think as well.
yeah, bottom
League table.
second bottom. Where are we?
Well, we've got Tuesday games coming. The Tuesday game coming first. Wimbledon away.
Tuesday's Wimbledon, so that's
Who
middle of the table.
did
clash.
Wimbledon play today? Do we know? Is it on the
Burton drew one each, doesn't it?
Oh,
I
right.
think?
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
We've got to win these two. Listen, if we want to do anything this season, I mean, our position in the league is going to look far better if come this time next week we're there with what would be on 13 points on the board. But it would still be flattering to deceive for me, and there's some fundamental issues in there that still need to be resolved.
Fundamental issues, exactly. I mean, look how many goals we've scored. We've scored 7, and there's only one team in this entire division that hasn't scored as many as us. That's Shrewsbury Town on 5. Who'd have thought that coming into this season, given the threat we showed in pre-season games?
It's bizarre.
It's a worry. I tell you one comment worth putting up, John, is the one from Phil Hornby that's got Neil Critchley's post-match comment on. Maybe you can see it. Yeah, that's it.
There we go. Do you want to read it, Nick?
Yeah, I thought we were excellent, particularly defensively. They're an excellent football team in terms of the way they play and their style of play. They're the best team I've seen this season.
Wow.
Ipswich, I thought they were a lot
Lincoln.
better. Yeah, pretty much everyone, I think.
The best team or the best, prettiest footballing team, which doesn't get you very far in League One, as we're obviously looking at the moment.
Yeah, but MK Dons weren't a pretty side, were they?
No,
Not really.
And
Worse than
excellent
us.
defensively. We've not conceded, but I don't think they put us under a lot of pressure, really. So,
I mean, unless he's talking sort of collectively, defending from the front type of thing, So you can argue that they didn't create anything, so therefore we defended well from 1 to 11, so to speak.
Your immediate thoughts, though, as a fan, is that they're the worst team we've played this season. Now, that's my assessment of what I saw today. They're the worst team we've played this year, and not the best. So it's just
let's be absolutely honest, right? Any half decent team would have blown us away today, I think. A la Ipswich. Yeah. So for me, nothing has changed. I don't think we've got any better on that performance, and I'm not filled with hope, to be honest, after what I've seen.
No, the only hope you do have is that it just gives the players the confidence, because confidence is massive, isn't it? At any game that you play, any sport that you play, and if they can believe a little bit more than what they're doing, it might just spur them on a little bit. And like you say, we've got Wimbledon on Tuesday, we've got Burton on the Saturday. Looking at what they did today, they drew against each other and Burton are bottom. So there's nothing to fear going into that game. And potentially, if we do get another win or two, optimistically, who knows where it takes us? But like everybody on this panel and beyond, I'm sure, it's just a slow burner, isn't it? And you just hope that you can see these small steps of improvement just getting quicker and quicker, because we're miles behind certain other teams that we've seen and probably will see this season, really.
I mean, everyone's slating that comment from Neil Critchley after it's just come in. AMC, Andy Mack, I guess that is. Neil Critchley's delusional. Andy Robbs, wonder if that's Robbo, probably is. Deluded. He's the new Neil McDonald. Steve Hutchison says, don't get that comment from Critchley at all. Read MK. Bison's still very little to be happy about. So
I think that's a play on his comment from last week, wasn't it? Which was that there's nothing to be happy about. I've got to say, the only thing, if you're trying to put a positive spin on that, is that he's trying to big up his players. So he's trying to say you've played well against a good side, to give, so he can go in the dressing room and give them some confidence. But
to say they're the best side, though, Tim,
it's just not true, is it? It's just not true, is it? It's rubbish.
No.
So, but I'm just trying to put a positive spin on it and say that maybe that's why he said it, but he can't possibly believe they're the best team we've played this year. No, I would be very worried if he did.
It's going to make you appear to be a bit of an idiot, to be honest. Coming out with things like that, as Nobo said, you deluded the new Neil McDonald. At least he didn't say elasticate it.
Yeah, I mean, they were very similar to us in many respects, aren't they? The way they tried to play and such like. So you can see why Critchley probably thought that, because that's. Oh, there you go, Phil's. Like, there you go. Yeah, exactly, absolutely.
Read
and that's
that out,
it, isn't
Matt,
it?
for the benefit of the audio pod.
They play like us. They play like us. Hence why Critchley likes them. All fur coat and no knickers, and that's exactly it, isn't it? We're good going sideways, and they're good going sideways. But both of us were no good going forward. We were slightly better, and that was the difference today, really. So you can understand why it's nice football, but it's not great attacking, inspiring football. And maybe I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, but maybe that's one of the things we would be better at if 5,000, 10,000, whatever it was, were giving it to them on the sidelines, in an encouraging way is what I mean. Because I think it's easy just to listen to your coach, isn't it? Whereas a lot of players respond to what the fans are saying as well. I'm sure Hamilton in particular would have been nearer the crowd. He would have got some more words of encouragement, should we say, in terms of taking on players or whatever. So I think it makes a massive difference to certain styles and teams having all these empty grounds. But yeah, I think Neil Critchley's comments are obviously getting some interesting feedback.
Just for the benefit of the audio pod, Andy AMC said Neil Critchley's comments remind me of Comical Ali, and that's with reference to the famous Minister of Information in the Iraqi army. The American tanks are burning. Goes back to Matt's point about penetrative options. Right, where do we go from here? We go to Wimbledon on Tuesday night. Obviously, we've just seen in the league table. Let's just get it back up. There. Stop clunking around, someone. Nick, stop it.
Microphone fell off. Apologies.
Where was I? AFC Wimbledon. They're 16th. We're 17th. They're on 9 points. We're on 7. This could go either way, Nick, I think. They're no mugs, are they?
No, I think it'll be a tough game. They're playing at, not that it makes any difference with no crowd, but they're playing at QPR, I think, aren't they, this season until new ground's ready.
Is it due to start that after they play us? Because I'm sure something that we aren't going to play there, that we're playing somewhere else, which is there's another ground close by to them that they've been playing at, hasn't there? But they were moving to Loftus Road with a view to obviously crowds being allowed in.
Right.
But I'm sure what's the local?
They were at Kingstonian, weren't they?
Yeah,
don't know whether
I
that's
thought
what
I thought they were still there. The final
Queen's
final
Park
game at
Rangers, Iron
QPR.
Prince Foundation Stadium. I think you're
That's
right, Tim.
QPR, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the new Loftus Road sponsored job.
Oh, right. Okay. No, apologies. I'm
Yeah.
wrong then.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to go 1-1. I don't think we'll win. Yeah, I'm going to go for a draw.
They look pretty shit at home, actually. Look at this. Lost to Shrewsbury at home, lost to Wimbledon at home, lost to Aki at home.
Lost to Wimbledon at home.
God,
It must be poor.
They won away at Swindon. That's what he meant. Swindon lost to Wimbledon.
sorry, yeah. Fleetwood have beat. God, they beat Fleetwood. Right, yeah. It's like I said, the no mugs. Tim, how do you think this is going to go?
I'm going to try and be Mr. Positive this week because I'm sick of being Mr. Negative. Because I predicted a loss today. I'm actually going to go for a scrappy 1-0 win. And I think we're going to see a lot of what we saw again today, unfortunately.
Matt, do you think Wimbledon will be penetrated from all angles?
Well, yes. They could well be. Could well be. I'm sure these things happen in Wimbledon. Yeah, I think we will. I think the lads will be quite confident after today, despite the overall performance. And I hope that we can scrape another win. But I think we'll all probably take a draw being away from home. And looking at their league table and our league table, it'll be one of those where I can imagine both teams won't want to lose and all that sort of carry on. So, yeah, I think I'll go for a low-scoring draw of some description.
So Jacko and they have all said 1-1. I think I'll go for 1-1 as well. I can't see anything other than, as the chaps have alluded to, a scrapey draw. I think we'll leave it there. Yeah, so we'll be coming back. Sam's Friday night preview next Friday. We might do a full fat pod actually next week to review Wimbledon. Well, in fact, we'll be doing a 6:06, won't we? Another midweek game. So yeah, thanks for viewing this, listeners. Thanks for downloading on the audio podcast, and we'll see you on Tuesday night. Hopefully, at about what time did we do the last one? Was it 9?
About 9 o'clock. Because they start at 7, don't they?
7 o'clock. Right. Yeah. Do tune in, listeners. Thanks for all your comments this evening. And yeah, we'll see you on the next show. So all remains to be said is up the pool.
Up the pool.
With a great tradition.
Just a quick one before you go, everybody. If you do like the show and you'd like to join our Patreon sports program, go to patreon.com/Seasiders Pod, where you get extra shows from us. And just to say thanks for the appreciation. You get a few other bits and pieces. Starts at £3.50 per month, so it's nothing. So head on over there. If you have listened to this on the podcast, the audio podcast, please go to Apple Podcasts, leave us a rating and a review. Helps us grow and get exposure on there. And we do have all the normal social media gubbings like Twitter, Facebook. We have an email list. If you don't do social media, seasiderspodcast.co.uk/email. If you'd like to sign up, that'd be great. That's it. So, yeah, we'll see you on Tuesday night at 9 p.m. for our 6:06 match reaction show after the AFC Wimbledon game. Not the fake MK Dons Wimbledon as we've just played today. Right. Yep. Cheers, everybody. And we'll speak to you later. See you later.